Alright there, geezers, it's Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Game Show. And you know what? Alongside my morning ritual of trying not to cry as I look into the mirror, I was eating my bowl of legally distinct Cheerios called Misery Circles, and I perchanced to happen upon the back of the box, and I spotted that there was a maze. And I thought to myself, well, I've got at least, I don't know, a couple of hours between writing about video games and trying to come up with excuses of why I should get more Warhammer. So I decided to approach this maze. And let's just say I was a little disappointed. Because much like the imitator cereal's construction, this puzzle was also rather shoddy, and in fact it was just a single corridor towards the centre. Now admittedly it did actually take me 10 minutes to solve, but the fact is that it wasn't fun and now my cereal was extremely soggy. Yet here's the thing, sometimes when it comes to video game puzzles, logic is basically flung out of the window, and the solutions to these brain teasers make you feel like your cranium is being crushed between Xenia Onatop's thighs. And yes, I know that is a sexy image, but we must stay focused. So that's exactly what we're going to look at today. The puzzles that defy your so-called logic so spectacularly that you may end up a gibbering wreck come the solution. And you know me by now, we're not going to go for the obvious picks such as the goat puzzle or the rubber duck puzzle from The Longest Journey, or even the madness that was the fake mustache from Gabriel Knight 3. No, my friends, this is the house that Deep Cuts built. And my god are the foundations sturdy, so let's get on with it. I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are some logic-melting video game puzzle solutions. The Scales of the Heart, La Mulana. Now, La Mulana is a thinking man's Spelunky, a comparison that Spelunky's designer probably wouldn't actually have a problem with, seeing as he credits the game as being the inspiration for his own. And La Mulana will certainly make your little grey cells flare into action with even its more simple puzzles. Such are the logic routes that you will need to follow in order to solve them. Yet one puzzle in particular will make you question your place in the bloody food chain quite severely, thanks to its sheer girthy heft. I'm speaking, of course, about the Scales of the Heart, which sees you enter a room with a giant pair of scales and a device above each side that drops gems and stones onto the sides of your choosing. Now, your goal here is to drop all of the items onto either side of the scale and balance them perfectly in order to solve the puzzle, but unfortunately a few problems arise quickly upon starting. Number 1, how many items are going to fall from above? Number 2, how much do the items weigh individually? Number 3, Jules, how do you get your beard so magnificently thick and luxurious? Well, the answer, according to La Mulana, is f you, I'm not telling. Except for the third part, and the answer to that is the tears of all of the big boo-hoo babies that tell me that Bioshock 2 isn't a masterpiece. It is. It's better than Infinite. There, I said it. Oh, thank you for the tears. Anyway, back on track. You need to solve this scale puzzle, and so we'll likely go and start reading the murals on the wall and the hints provided in the room itself to get a clue as to what the f is going on. But it's here that unfortunately you've made your first mistake, as now you've locked yourself into the puzzle, because if you leave this area, you have failed. Now, don't worry, you can actually reset the puzzle thanks to another character in the game, but you can only do this after you defeated a late game boss. Ooh, okay, well, let's just work with what we've got then, shall we? Well, fool, it's here that you've made your second biggest mistake, because you've assumed that the puzzle has an obvious solution. The problem is that even if you divvy up all of the different items across the scales, they will never balance equally. And why is that? Well, it's because you, the character player, needs to jump on one side of the scales and use your own weight to balance them. And how much do you weigh? Well, the only way you can find this out is if you go to the Mausoleum of Giants and use a different scale puzzle platforming section up there that only gives you your weight in a series of hieroglyphs. I know, I too wish for death. This puzzle is so infuriating because while it does follow a logical pattern to the extreme, it feels like the actual path to get all of the information was delivered to you by a 5-year-old on a bloody sugar binge. If you solved this without cheating or looking it up through a guide, then bravo. You are literally the puzzle master. Next up, the Rumpelstiltskin puzzle from King's Quest I: Quest for the Crown. So let's talk about the King's Quest games, or more specifically, their queen, the one and only Roberta Williams, who created and directed the video game puzzler alongside many others across her time with Sierra Online. Her puzzles and comedy sections within these games are legendary. However, thanks to one particular puzzle in King's Quest I, the only royalty here was a royal pain in the head. And that's because this particular puzzle puts the player in a situation where they need a quest item from an unnamed man, who states that he will give us what we seek if we can correctly guess his name in 3 attempts. Now here's the thing, this guy might as well be wearing a neon sign saying, "Yes, hello, I am Rumpelstiltskin," so you might type Rumpelstiltskin into the keyboard, lean back with a big sigh of relief, and wait for that digital pat on the back. But unfortunately, that never comes, because you are wrong, you filthy peasant! Okay, no worries, you think to yourself as you remember a clue that a different area of the game gifted you. Maybe you'll just put in the name backwards because it said it's good to think backwards. And wrong again! Ooh, bet you're sweating now, mate. Not so clever, are we? Well, turns out that the real answer was Roberta going on full goblin mode, because what this clue actually meant was to use the cipher of Z equals A, Y equals B, and so on, and then respell Rumpelstiltskin name, obviously. But here's the problem upon a problem, my friend, because you may have noticed that the Evil Finger Temple of Doom has returned. And this is because of one silly little thing. The developers spelt Rumpelstiltskin's name wrong. So even if you did it right and used the cipher correctly, you'd still be wrong if you spelt the name right. Excuse me for a minute. Cheers, or as this game would say, Zeh! Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the smashed mug from Ripper. Right, let's not beat around the bush here and talk about Ripper, a 1996 FMV-laced puzzle game that was so wild that I'm officially branding it. Tommy, please bring in the official branding here. I'm branding it Hog Wild. I'm serious about that. So how has this title been labelled with such a prestigious award? Well, I think the plot summary could explain it better than I ever could, as here you are playing as a reporter/detective tracking down Jack the Ripper in the year 2040 and share the stage with the one and only Christopher Walken. Wow, that sounds like a good game. Good game. Great. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And speaking of absolute mugging, there is a puzzle hidden within Ripper surrounding a smashed mug that will make you tear your brain to pieces like it was a piece of bacon on a builder's breakfast. Oi, oi! For you see, the game starts with you having to piece together a vestibule of the holy British liquid known as tea, because it also contains a code that you desperately need to start your investigations. Yet it's here that Ripper promptly sharts itself by giving the player an infuriatingly challenging puzzle, which effectively boils down to rebuilding a 3D mug, but doing so on a 2D plane, meaning that not only do you have to envision the pieces as one whole product without the ability to rotate them, but then also layer each piece so that they appear 3D and then lock in place. However, the worst is yet to come, because upon solving the mystery of the mug, you'll be made to feel like a right proper one, because the object will then spin around and reveal a singular word, Salisbury, which is the clue you need. Now, I'm not going to call the protagonist of Ripper a fucking dip, but at the same time, come on, pal, how many other words could it be? I mean, look at that, Salisbury, what the fuck else is it gonna be, mate? I mean, and the worst part is that you didn't need 90% of the rest of the mug to figure this out. You didn't need to put on the fucking handle, did you? You absolute tool! This is a puzzle for a puzzle's sake and put me in a right bloody sour mood upon completing it. Luckily though, Walken's scenery chewing more than made up for it.
You come this close to finding out what it's like to be a human shish kebab rotating in one of our fine penal institutions. But you're way off on that.
Anyway, let's move on to Personal Nightmare and the Coat Puzzle. So if by this point on the list you're feeling like you're looking into the void quite considerably here, well, let's jump in there together, my friend, and turn our personal nightmare into a very real one by playing the video game Personal Nightmare and talking about the Coat Puzzle. This point-and-click puzzler for the Amiga sees you trying to save a town that has been corrupted by the devil himself, who strangely appears to begin the game by attacking a priest with a lightning bolt. I mean, I'm not exactly on point with the man upstairs, but isn't that usually God's calling card to use lightning from above? And if so, why the f is he doing it? Why is God striking down a priest and then having a good old belly laugh about it? And I'll tell you what, who's paying for that bloody window palace? Stained glass ain't cheap. Anyway, back on track once more before we instantly derail logic again with the first puzzle of the game. Good, it's another first puzzle that's going to do me in. Here you are in a pub that has all the ambience of a bloody crypt thanks to no one thinking to put the jukebox on. And all you've got to look at here are the locals who seem unfriendly at best and bloody ugly at worst. And just as you're about to down another lukewarm pint of Bishop's piss or Badger's taint or one-eyed rusty gargler or whatever it is, weird ales that these places usually have, there is a crash, a bang, and indeed a wallop that comes from outside. Egad, there's been an accident. So of course you're going to finally spring into action, right? Right? Well, sorry mate, by going outside to see the excitement, you've actually just lost the game, literally rendering this unwinnable, as what you're meant to do is ignore the most exciting thing that's ever likely happened to this village, excluding exploding vicars of course, and instead pickpocket the coat of another patron who leaves to investigate. Now I won't lie, if I hear a crash or commotion going on outside my local, I will be out there, pint in hand, to take a look like a goddamn owl. I'll be rotating all around to drink it in, baby. But here, you've got to go against every single instinct that you've got, ignore the commotion, and become a thief instead. The logic train here is baffling, and no, I do not have my ticket. Oh, I'm actually getting angry, Tommy. Anyway, let's just try and calm down. Think of waterfalls. Oh no, I've thought of the waterfall puzzle from Small Radio's Big Television. Now, I won't lie to you, dear viewer. When it comes to grading Small Radio's Big Television's content, a lot of players and critics felt let down, feeling that while the game provided a pretty stellar concept and definitely amazing visual direction, it was hampered by puzzles that were either stupidly simple or detached from reality in the worst ways possible. Take, for example, the waterfall puzzle, which, thanks to some assets left in either by mistake or by malicious design, led to hours and hours of frustration. For you see, in the third level, or tape, of the game, you'll come across a room with 4 wheels that need to be aligned in a certain way in order to stop the flow of water next to you. And wouldn't you know it, there just happens to be part of a diagram to the left which gives you what appears to be the starting clue on how to get the ball, or indeed wheel, rolling. However, there's just one problem. This diagram right here is a bigger liar than my uncle who said that meringues and insulation foam are made of the same thing. This is why you're in the hospital, Uncle Steve. And also, this diagram has nothing related to this fucking puzzle. Cue you, the player, spending likely hours trying to figure this out based on the information given, and then either lucking out by brute forcing the solution or giving up thinking that the game was broken. Either way, logic be damned, as much as the cheeky devs who thought to put it here. And finally, we end on a rather sweet treat, the chocolate code from Professor Layton and the Curious Village. Now, as we all know by now, the Professor Layton games are often held aloft by many as being some of the most perfect and charming puzzle video games available. Yet, thanks to a rather nasty puzzle found within the Curious Village, many fans were ready to hold the entire title underwater until the bubbles finally stopped coming up. Anyway, let's move on from dark images to dark chocolate and talk about the chocolate code found within this game, which was less of a sweet treat for the mind and more of a mouth ulcer that's going to hamper your swearing at this title. Easy, air freshener, not today. I swear he's becoming a bloody antagonist, this guy. What you've got to do here is decipher a code that's been given to you by your technophile girlfriend. Yet instead of giving this message to you on a piece of paper or something traditional, she's decided that a chocolate bar is the best means of communication. Now, I'm not going to say that this definitely throws up a red flag for your relationship here, but I will definitely say that it throws up a brown flag because my brain literally shit itself trying to come up with the solution. I spent way too long on this, by the way. No matter how I looked at the letters, I couldn't piece it together, and the hints provided, well, they are no help at all. And why is this? Because the hints do not actually tell you that the bite marks on the chocolate are the key to solving this. It turns out that the bite marks indicate which direction you should read from the original's placement on a traditional QWERTY keyboard. And you know what that all-important message was? Text me. Text me. Bloody hell, love, the police would have a better chance of finding me because I'm going to go AWOL from this relationship and the entire country after receiving this. This was like a chocolate crucifix for my brain. I loved you. And this is what you do to me? Sorry, we've got to stop. Tommy, cut away, cut away. Anyway, this relationship and the chocolate go in the fucking bin. And there we have it, my friend. Logic melting video game puzzle solutions, only made of deep cuts. So I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. And why not suggest what you'd like me to cover in my next week's Friday fun slot, because I'm here every single week on FGS every Friday. I'm putting a bit of spice on it for you. So yeah, send me some love and send Tommy some love here on our social medias. Tommy's a good lad. He works very, very hard, so make sure that you give him some love, all right? And why not turn that love as well inwards and treat yourself well, my friends, because you bloody deserve it. Even though we spoke today about video game puzzles that will absolutely melt your brain, at least we can try and use our brain to be kinder to ourselves, because sometimes we can be a bit too hard on ourselves. I know that for a fact. So just remember, you are a massive ledge. You deserve love. You deserve happiness. You deserve success. You deserve the best things in life, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, or I'll be over there and I will punch them right in the face, metaphorically, because I'm weak. But still, treat yourself with love. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.